When it comes to video editing, a lot of times as an editor, you feel like you just kind of want to do the fun parts of the video first. Kind of like in this case, as you guys saw with the planning, I really do want to get to work on those 3D animations and just making some really cool effects and like pushing the editing as far as we can go. But we gotta first get done with the boring things so that we can save as much mental energy or mental creativity as possible for the complex parts. So let's first get done with the boring things, and then we can get to work on all the creative things, because either way we're going to be inspired and motivated to do the creative things. And a popular YouTuber or a editor that edited for Logan Paul, his name was Hillier Smith. I had to double check that instead of saying it wrong and being embarrassed. He mentioned this. He said when you have a boring section of the video, kind of make sure you do that first, so that when you get to the exciting section, or the part which you're already motivated for, there's that extra resource of motivation that you can reach out to and keep working on the project. So folks, let's first get done with the boring section of this entire edit, which is actually going to be creating the subtitles for the whole thing. And you might wonder why this is boring. You'll see in just a second. It's a lot of repetitive work. What we're going to do is create subtitles for the whole thing, and make sure we create the subtitles the way that we want to, or at least place them and prepare them so that we can add in our animations once we get to editing them. What I'll do is I'll try and add in the glows where I want them to be and everything else. We could either do this by creating a text and adding in our like saving a bunch of time by transcribing and captioning, or we could physically go in here and write out all the subtitles. Now I would prefer if we transcribe, but I'm not sure how much quality control we're gonna have over that, so let's go ahead and give that a try. Head over to text, and you guys already know how to do this. All we gotta do is click over here, generate a static transcript, and make sure we select the no, don't separate speakers, and make sure this is a mix on the audio. If you select one of the audio tracks, then you're only going to get the subtitles for one of the audio tracks. Make sure you set this to mix and click on transcribe. Now just go ahead and give it a second. It should load in pretty quickly. Alright, and with this out of the way, we've got this entire thing. Now we're going to go through and first of all remove all the periods, replace them with all nothing. We're going to remove all the commas, replace those with nothing, and then we're also going to double check and make sure that everything is written out correctly. So to do this, we're going to zoom in just a bit more. Let's go ahead and watch through this. If you need content ideas for Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube, don't just go and ask ChatGPT, can you give me 10 content ideas? That's horrible. Here's how to use ChatGPT correctly to get viral content ideas. Right now, there are 800 million video ideas to steal from. All you gotta do is head over to YouTube and search for a content idea that you like. Then take that video and plug it into ChatGPT. And with this done, you will get 10 content ideas that you can use. So please... There we go. That was very, very nicely made. Premiere Pro has gotten amazing at creating transcripts. Now what we're going to do, we're going to click on the captions, and we're just going to bring this down. And we don't necessarily have it saved as a text style yet, but we're going to recreate it and save it as a text style so that you guys don't have to do it the same way that I'm going to do it. However, we're going to make sure that we do it word by word, right? The reason being is because I actually want full control over the subtitles. So I'd rather have it word by word than, having to separate it as a subtitle. Or... we could go in there and separate it as a physical subtitle, add in all our effects. So we might just set this to something like, if I wanted to do it word by word, I could do it into 7, but then what I would have to do is go through each one, and if I wanted it to be a whole sentence, then I'd have to rewrite it, which is perfectly fine with me if I'm being honest. So we'll bring this down to 7, and we'll bring down the minimum duration to 2. Once again, this is going to be word by word, right? So if you don't like the word by word idea, then you're going to have to change these settings. And we'll set this to, let's just set it to single. Single is going to be good for word by word. Click on create captions and give it a second. It's going to go ahead and generate our captions for us. And look at this. We've got, if you need content ideas, the majority of them are word by word. So once again, we'll go back in and fix all the ones that we're going to need. But first, let's create our text style, the one that we want to create. We'll head over to Essential Graphics, select whichever one of the subtitles that you guys would like. Hope that Premiere Pro doesn't crash. Okay, and the first thing I'm going to do is double click over here to make sure that's selected. And we first got to start off with our font. Change this to Rubik, make it a bit girthier if you'd like. I want to make sure that it's always caps, and I'm going to just, make sure it's black. Then we're going to increase the size. I'm not sure how we could increase the size. to get amount. I think we'll just kind of, you know, eyeball it. We can go with something like 100. 100 should be pretty good for everything. Then we're going to center align it vertically and horizontally. Don't worry if it's not aligned to the place that you're going to want it to be. That's perfectly okay. We're going to add a bit of variation in between the words. So I think 5 is pretty good. That's not good. Maybe something like this. Okay, it looks like 50 is going to be what we're going to go with. And then we'll finally make sure that we have added our background shadow as subtly as possible. Keep in mind this has to be a completely subtle background shadow. Very, very much invisible, right? There we go, looks pretty good to me. And the last thing we will do is make sure it's aligned to the center of the screen, kind of like this, but drop it down just a tiny bit. So the general idea here is to split your screen into thirds, which would be 1, 2, and 3. These are not really even thirds. But this is the general idea. So the third would be somewhere around here. And we want to place our text somewhere in this section right over here. Now, if you have pretty good eyes, then you'll memorize that. It's somewhere around here. That should be pretty good for now. I'm going to raise it up a tiny bit because I want to make sure there's enough room so that when I zoom in, it's right under my chin. Okay? So let's not worry too much about that right now. Once we've created our text style, we can go ahead and click on this, create text style. We're going to call it Devin text style, like so. We're gonna make sure it's saved, and we are gonna click on, I believe it's this one, and apply this to all the captions on the track. This will apply this whole style to the entire captions. Now, what do we do up next? Up next, we're gonna select all this, and we're gonna go over here and click on upgrade caption to graphic. Now, in the case that we do want to highlight some glows and certain words, then we can just delete them and replace them with a glow word from our essential graphics tab. From our essential graphics tab right over here. But in the majority of the times, we're just going to be using these. So for this first section, the first thing I'm going to do is go through and remove all the words that I'm not going to use based on how I planned my short. If you guys can't do this, then make sure you leave the subtitles till the end as you're editing. But since we've already got enough experience, we can actually plan out our short. And if anything, if we did remove any words that we don't want, then we can always go back in there and add them once more. So if you need content, I'm going to leave this kind of like this, and I'm just going to make sure that I select all of these text like this. And I want to definitely add in my blur and opacity reveal. And instead of using the preset, I'm going to remake it real quick because I want to remake it specifically for this short. And this won't take much. This is just quality control to make sure everything turns out really nice. We're going to animate blurriness from, I believe we did it from 10. And then we move 6 frames forward. Is that 6 frames? That's 4 frames. And we bring it back down to 0. Like so. And then I figured out a way to actually save opacity as a preset. It's by adding the transform effect. Because the transform effect can be saved as a preset, which is super nice. And yeah, we'll basically change the opacity from 0 all the way to 6. Oops, excuse me. To 100. And I think what we'll do is we'll do the same effect in which the Gaussian blur is a bit later than the opacity. Yep, I think that looks pretty cool. So with this out of the way, we're going to go ahead and try and copy it to a few other effects by selecting both of them, copying it. And I just want to copy it over to here just to kind of see what it looks like, to make sure that I'm happy with it. And if I'm happy with it, then I'll add it to, I'll save it as a preset. And what we're going to be doing is stacking these on top of each other, kind of like this. If you need content, there we go. Okay, that looks really nice. So once we've done this, or actually 1 second, let's just place them differently just to make sure that we have to make sure that this looks really, really good. Because otherwise we're going to be saving a bad preset, and we don't want to do that. If you need content, okay, one thing does need to be changed. Okay, I think something about this is not right? Oh, okay, the opacity is coming in too fast. That's the problem. Okay, no worries. All we gotta do is just delay this a bit. Let's try and delay it a bit more. Yep, I think that's the one. So with this being said, we can now remove these effects. And let's go ahead and save this as a text preset, nice and simple. And we'll go ahead and apply it to the rest of our video. So save this as a preset. And then all that we're going to do is select both of these. Did we give it a name? We did not give it a name. Okay, let's go ahead and try and find it. It should be called text preset or something like this. Oh, okay, we're not able to find it. Okay, we'll once again try and save these as a preset like this, and we're just going to call it, let's just call it Devin Blur Reveal Preset, like so. And with this done, we can then go ahead and try and find it over here. Just searching up Devin, we'll find it Devin Blur Reveal Preset, and we'll just select both of these guys and apply it on top. If you need content, it's not starting at 0 for some reason, and that's really weird. Need content, right? So it's like kind of like appearing fast. 4, 5, 6. It should be over here. So we'll go ahead and fix this real quick. Very simple. Just extend these. Need content. Yeah, that looks a lot better. Maybe a bit more. Need content. Need content. There we go. So now what we're going to do is we're just going to go ahead and delete this preset, because that's not a good one. And we'll save this one instead. And we'll try and align it to the, basically here, anchor to endpoint, which means it's going to anchor to the start of your text. And we'll just save it as transform preset for now. Go in here and change its name to something like, oh no, this is only the transform preset. Yeah, we definitely don't want that. Guys, technical difficulties, sorry. We'll save this as a Devin Blur Reveal preset. Now that that's done, we just want to do the hard work one time so we can save us some good time. Should be able to drag this in, and it should be, nope, still didn't save our thing. Premiere Pro, you can't be doing this right now, man. Save the preset as Gaussian Blur and Transform. And if I apply this now, it should work. Come on, Premiere, don't disappoint us. Yeah, Premiere kind of has some mood swings. Sometimes it likes to work, sometimes it doesn't. It's really weird. If you need content, there we go. Now with this done, I can select all these texts and add in my Gaussian Blur and Transform. Ideas for Instagram, TikTok. There we go, we've got that reveal animation. And now I'm going to decide what words I'm going to keep and what words I'm going to remove. So for this one, content ideas are also going to both be under the same title content sequence, ideas, like so. And the way that I'm going to place these all is differently. So I'm going to remove content ideas because I want to make sure both of those are glow effects. But the if you need is all going to be kind of like one big sentence. So we'll just bring this up kind of like here, make it a bit bigger, like so. And yeah, this is where you get into the quality control stuff. And over here we can have content ideas. Content ID. Yeah, we'll just have, if you need, and then we'll have content ideas come in. So we'll have this end somewhere around here, and then we can place our content ideas. And to do so, we're going to head over to here, Essential Graphics, and we're going to drag in our glow text. In this case, I think I'll be using just purple. Right? Something like this. Content ideas for and for Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube, we'll just have those be an animation so we can overlay them with our text. So our first one's going to be content, and our second one, content is going to be ideas. But before we duplicate it, let's first add in our, what was it called, Devin Text Poppin, which is our animation that, you know, animates. Content, there we go. And it's nice and slow, nice and smooth. We like that. Ideas. Right, and now what we're going to do is we're just going to expand it and place it right over here. Content ideas for, there we go. If you need content ideas for Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube, there we go. And one final touch that we could do, just because this is the hook, we want to make sure it's super nicely edited. We're going to make sure we have these animate back out, right? So just because it's the hook, we're going to add in that extra touch of detail. So we'll simply duplicate these and then duplicate their end keyframes with them. Need content. What this will mean is they will also have an opacity out animation. So for this one, we'll just duplicate these like so. And so we'll get, if you need content ideas, there we go, yeah. Just because it's the hook. If you need content ideas for Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube. And over here, we'll have our whole animation thing. Don't just go and ask chat. And then we're going to have these animate outwards, which we'll do that in a bit once we're at the intro. Now, let's go ahead and do this for the rest of the video. Don't just go and ask ChatGPT. In this case, I don't want to, have these kind of pop in like this. We'll have don't just go be one title sequence. Don't just go. And we'll have the don't be on the left. And the just be on the right side of it with a bit of spacing. And the go just be under them, kind of like this. And it's very important to make sure we use guidelines. So I'm going to click over here and enable my rulers. And I'm just going to put one right at the dead center. Right, just so I can know where everything is spaced out. And with this done, it's going to help us a lot more. Let's remove the rulers. And let's continue. Don't just go and ask. There we go. And ask ChatGPT. Once we say and ask ChatGPT, ask ChatGPT. Yeah, and ask ChatGPT. We could kind of have this like so, and we'll just have like an icon pop in from behind me or something like this. And once again, we'll just redo this to make sure it's a nice solid line. So once again, we need the and on the left side of our line and the ask on the right side. This is why our line is useful, because it's going to help us space out everything. And ChatGPT is going to be under it. We're going to change the color of ChatGPT. We're going to add a glow to it. We're going to make it into yellow. I'll change this text to ChatGPT. And we're going to shorten it down to the same length. Bring it down here and just kind of place it. Make it a bit smaller like so. Put it over here. And we'll have it do the Devon pop-up. ChatGPT. There we go. So here's what we've got so far. If you need content ideas for Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube, don't just go and ask ChatGPT, can you give me 10 content ideas? And so for this section, I'll remove this text because we'll actually have ChatGPT come in and do everything. Yes, that's horrible. Once I say that's horrible, that's going to be very, very nice. This is going to be super important. I'm going to place the that's. I'm going to make them both really small to mimic that same effect that he did. I'm really trying to basically like mimic his short. And I'll place the that's on the left side of my line. I could see it behind the horrible. If you guys can't, make sure to make your layers invisible. And I'll place the, I want to make sure that they're nice and even around here, like so. And for the horrible, I'm going to replace this with a red text, because horrible is a negative word. So we're going to use the color red to showcase negativity. And we'll just write out horrible, which I believe that's not how you write horrible. I believe that's how you write. Let's double check. We can just write this here, horrible, and we're gonna get, yeah, it's a double R. Okay, cool. Really don't want any spelling mistakes with our video. Okay, go ahead and resize it over here. And for this one, I'm not gonna have a zoom in, a zoom in. Instead, I'm just gonna have the blurry reveal. So we'll go ahead and add in what we call the transform, Gaussian blur and transform, which you guys have probably already downloaded if you downloaded the Devon text presets and you guys downloaded this version. It's horrible. Nice. That's horrible. Now with this done, we're going to give it a bit more spacing, right? I want to make sure that it's nice and long. Here's how. It's horrible. Here, make sure your text doesn't start before your next cut does. Here's how to use ChatGPT. Okay, now for this section, correctly to get viral. I'm going to do this in two ways. I'm going to remove correctly, and I'm going to do this two sections. Here's how to use ChatGPT to get viral content ideas. It's going to be another section. So what this will be is here's how to use, and then we'll have ChatGPT have a glow and kind of have the icon pop in. So we'll have the words here's how to use be over here. We'll have here's how to kind of be over here. Oh no, that's way too long. Okay, so we'll just have here's be over there, and then how to be over here. We could have how to use be at the bottom, which would work out a lot better. Once again, we're kind of eyeballing this, just making sure they look pretty good, because if you as an editor think that these look pretty good, then the viewer will most likely think that they look good too. Here's how to use chat. There we go. And once we say ChatGPT, it's going to pop in under it. Here's how to use chat. And I noticed that these don't have the transform effect, so we're going to drag that back in. Here's how to use chat. There we go. And once we say ChatGPT, we're going to put it under that in a yellow text. Or not, we won't use a yellow text. Let's use like a blue text for ChatGPT. Once more. ChatGPT. And we'll extend this over to this section. And we'll just resize it so that it's, you know, the same width as the how to use, and we'll place it under it over here. And we can add a Devon zoom into it. We could do that. Let's check this out. Here's how to use ChatGPT. That works out pretty good. We could put this under them just to make sure we don't interrupt anything. Here's how to use ChatGPT correctly to get okay, and once I say viral content, I'm going to have these viral content ideas. We're just going to have viral content for now. And we're going to also make these their own sentence, right? And we'll change these to yellow. And this is super, super important because this is basically the plan on how I'm going to edit the whole video. So once I say to get, we could just have it like this. To get viral. And viral content is just going to be these two words over here. In yellow. And we could either do these in one sentence or in two sentences. I believe I'm going to do them in probably two sentences. But let's go ahead and try and do it in one sentence. Which means we'll add in we'll just use the transform blur. Gaussian blur and transform. Viral content. That way it takes up way too long. Something like that. Viral content. Okay. Bring this a bit closer. So when it comes to viral, I might just put this. I could either do this with viral content or make it. Okay, I'm just gonna make it a bit smaller because we're gonna have that camera flash effect on here. Content. Like so. And we're just gonna make viral content a bit smaller. Because we're once again we're gonna have that camera flash effect over here. Get viral content idea. There we go. So this is what we end up horrible. Here's how to use ChatGPT correctly to get viral content ideas. Right? Okay. Now for the majority of this remaining section, we're actually not gonna have text, so this will help us a lot. As I said, for this whole section, when I say 800 million views on YouTube, etc. Sorry, 800 million videos on YouTube, that's all gonna be a 3D animation. So what we're gonna do is just gonna remove all of this, right? So we don't have to deal with that. All you gotta do is head over to YouTube and search. And for this whole section, I'm just also gonna remove the entire thing because it's also gonna be an animation. Search for a content idea that you like. Then take that video and plug it into ChatGPT. And then once again, also remove these. GPT. And so for the majority of the video, we're not gonna have subtitles, only for the intro and outro. And with this done, you will get 10 content ideas that you can use. And for this section, we will also have a ChatGPT animation. So please. And in the end over here, when I say so please, we could just kind of leave this as it is. Like this. We could just kind of delete this. So please duplicate this. Shorten this down. And then, whoops, I didn't mean to do that. Bring out our type tool and then change this to so. Right, and just kind of stack these on top of each other, kind of like this. Because this is going to be our loop. So please. So as you guys could see, the majority of the video is not really gonna have any subtitles, just the intro and the outro. So please, let's go ahead and watch through what we've created. If you need content ideas for Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube, don't just go and ask ChatGPT, can you give me 10 content ideas? That's horrible. Here's how to use ChatGPT correctly to get viral content ideas. Right now, there are 800 million videos. So this whole section is in use. So please, and with this out of the way, we have finished the boring side of this whole thing, which is actually creating all these, text effects. Now let's go in here and create some really, really good edits so that we can make this an absolute banger. All right. So I'm ready to absolutely transform this intro, which is what we're going to do in the next episode. It's going to be full of value for you guys. Okay. So stay tuned and let's go ahead and get straight into the intro. Thanks a lot for following along. If you have any questions, go ahead and post them in the community. You guys already know the drill. And let's go ahead and edit an amazing short.